On a stretch of road that runs between two villages with names that translate as Dream and Sweetheart is all the savagery and waste of war. Ukrainian forces had just recaptured it, their troops moving in after a heavy bombardment from their artillery. This was only a few hours after the Russian retreat.
Early hours of this morning, this was recaptured.
Absolutely correct. So basically, around 2 a.m. today, our reconnaissance team report that they start to see movement.
Alexander Radzikovsky, a Ukrainian volunteer who's back home from England to fight, showed a position where a Russian tank had been dug in.
So that's where the Russian tank was, and that's exactly where this is the line of fire. That's how they shoot.
On the 7th of March, Alexander's drone unit filmed the tank in action. The drone showed civilians trying to get to Kyiv to escape the Russians. And then they saw the tank. One of the cars was forced to stop. The driver tried to show he was harmless, and the Russians shot him dead. They also killed his wife. The dead couple were Maxim Yovanko and his wife Ksenia. They were traveling with their 6-year-old son and a friend who both survived. She said Maxim had been shouting they were with a child when he was killed. Almost 4 weeks later, Maxim's badly burnt body lies next to the hulk of their car. His wedding ring is still on his finger. Ksenia's remains are inside. Her mouth is open, as if in a scream. The car and the back seat are riddled with bullets. The vehicle and their bodies were not burnt when they were killed. The hypothesis is that Russian soldiers tried to destroy the evidence of what they'd done. The drone operator who filmed their death says the Russians must have known Maxim's car was not a threat.
So they were trying to say that they were civilians?
Yes, they know it. You can see all car is civilians, no army car, and they shoot it.
In the woods near the road, there's evidence the Russians left in a hurry.
You can see the place where, in the trees, the Russians were living. There's a dugout, there's beer bottles. It's like the Marie Celeste, half-finished meals.
Actually opened.
They were here for a month. The camp is full of the soldiers' rubbish. On a front line, that is usually the sign of an ill-disciplined unit. They tried unsuccessfully to hide another tank in the trees. That was punished by the Ukrainians who destroyed it. A much bigger question is whether there will be a reckoning for what happened on the highway. Maxim and Ksenia were not the only ones who were killed near the tank dug into the roadside.
There are more bodies here.
Yes.
1, 2, 3 bodies, I think.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
In a couple of hundred yards with Alexander from the Ukrainian army, we counted 11 other dead bodies.
It's Ukrainian.
3 were wearing recognizable Ukrainian military uniform. The others wore civilian clothes.
This is Ukrainian pixel.
Some of the dead were piled up and surrounded by tires.
They deliberately burned them. They set on fire to hide what they did.
In the desolation are a mass of questions about who they were and how they were killed.
It's hard to imagine the fear these people must have gone through in the last few moments of their lives, or indeed of the anguish survivors, families must be feeling now. But this is more than just a collection of terrible deaths. It's a crime scene, because under the laws of war, civilians are supposed to be protected.
We drove to the next village to confirm a Ukrainian claim that they destroyed more Russian tanks. The Russian armor was broken, and except for soldiers, the village was deserted and still. The Russians could be redeploying to the eastern battlefields, but just a few hours after they'd left this strategic area close to the capital, it was clear they were being forced out. Many civilians are mourning relatives and friends they say were killed by Russian troops. As and when they retreat, they might leave behind more evidence that could add up to war crimes. Jeremy Bowen, BBC News, outside Kyiv.